Before we start, I also apologize to the audience for, I was called out on business on Thursday, so I wasn't able to attend these hearings, which were originally scheduled for August 4th, so I apologize to the community for my inability to attend. So these are continued hearings from Thursday, August 4th. Today is Monday, August 8th. We're going to call to order our 7:30 hearing. We're in the John Conference Room of the Milton Board of Appeals. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be acting as your chairman tonight. To my immediate right is Board Member Theodore Daber, and to my immediate left is Virginia Donahue King, Board Member. The first hearing tonight, 7:30, is upon the application of Ilda Cella? Yes. Ilda Cella, dated June 7, 2016, on file with the board for a special permit and variances from the terms of Section 4, Section 4B3, Section 4C1, Section 4D1 of the zoning bylaw. The applicant would like to be able to build a second and third level and front entry mudroom with covered stairs and reconstruction of certain substandard portions of the existing single-family home located at 39 Pine Grove Street in Milton. The property is located in a Residence C zoning district. The structure was built in 1935 and is considered pre-existing non-conforming. The applicant seeks variances from sections 6B3 for the reduction of a front yard setback from 12 feet to 7 feet 7 3/4 inches. Section 6C1, side yard setback, unchanged. Section 6D1, rear yard setback, unchanged. And a special permit under Section 4 to remove walls and floor and improve foundation, if found to be necessary with no further encroachment. All of this is set forth in the application with the board that is on file and is open to public inspection. I have in front of me the application that was made to the Board of Appeals on June 7, along with a letter from Mr. Prondak, the building commissioner, to Attorney Robert Sheffield, represented the applicant, which reiterates a lot of what I've just read, is available for review, along with a set of drawings that are entitled Cella Residence Existing Site Plan, Edmund Cella, 39 Pine Grove Street, that are prepared by, I can't read who they are prepared by, but it's a set of drawings consisting of 5 or 6 sheets showing the improvements along with a site plan. They're prepared by Architude. Yeah, it just rolls off your tongue, that perhaps it rolls off your tongue. I wasn't able to make it roll off mine. Architude. Those are available. On a butters list, a copy of the advertisement, the procedures that the board follows. I also have an email that was submitted to the board on Monday, July 25, from Kathy Blythe. That is short enough that I'll read it to the record. Dear Ms. Fitzgerald, representative of the Board of Appeals, I live at 35 Pine Grove Street and am one of the immediate abutters to the Cella's property at 39 Pine Grove Street. I'm unable to attend the hearing since I'll be on vacation. I obtained a copy of the plans from the building inspector's office and a letter from Joe Prondak to Attorney Sheffield outlining the reasons for the variance, and am satisfied the new proposal is for a 2 1/2 story house. I have no objections to the variance and look forward to a beautiful house and landscaping replacing the current eyesore and garden wilderness, which has also invaded my garden. The Cellas will be welcome additions to the neighborhood. Regards, Kathy Blythe, 35 Pine Grove Street. Those are the contents of the board's files. I see Mr. Sheffield has joined us tonight. Mr. Sheffield, welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you.
How can we help you this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll introduce myself as Attorney Robert Sheffield. I have the pleasure of representing the Cellas, and I will give you a brief synopsis of the history of this. They bought the land 15 months ago, and their original plans were to make improvements that were significantly higher and more extensive than what is being proposed now. The neighbors said we would appreciate it if you would tone it down so that it is 2 1/2 stories, that you don't put it additional windows in the half-story top portion, and that nothing be done to extend the variance needed for the side or rear yard setback. And these were all done, and new plans were submitted to the board. And
Excuse me, Attorney Sheffield, could you speak a little louder, please, because we're having a hard time hearing in the back.
I would be happy to.
All right, thank you.
Why don't I speak this way, and then you'll be able to hear me better.
Thank you.
Basically, the plans were redone and resubmitted to the board. However, at the hearing, it turned out to be that there was an error in the plans, so we withdrew the application and are coming forward with essentially the same plans that were revised and met the neighbors' concerns, and hopefully tonight we'll be able to approve the necessary variances and special permit. The permit is required because this, as many of the homes in this section of town are pre-existing non-conforming. The structure was built in 1935 prior to the advent of zoning, and they do not meet today's standards for side yard setback or rear yard setback. We're also going to incorporate a mudroom in the front of the house that will bring it a little closer to the street, as is shown in the plans. And I personally went around to all the houses of the abutters prior to last Thursday night's hearing to make them aware of the fact that it was going to be postponed to tonight, so that they wouldn't come up here and find an empty conference room. At that time, I showed everyone the plans. I had them available, et cetera, and I think the neighbors are now supportive of the plan and will be able to proceed to go forward.
Okay. Does that complete your presentation?
I am waiting to see if there are any questions, and then I will end my presentation.
Members of the board have any questions for Mr. Sheffield at this time?
I guess when you say, so you, all of the abutters have been shown the revised plans?
Yes, they have.
Okay, so that by, you mean the ones on each side and across the street? I
And
guess?
across the street,
Okay.
correct.
And everyone is, as far as you know, in agreement with them?
I will let them speak, but
Okay.
I think they're generally supportive of it.
Okay. Could you speak a little bit to the special permit and the reason for the special permit? is
The reason for
sought?
the special permit is this is a pre-existing non-conforming structure.
Right,
Because of the setbacks, and that in order to rebuild the home, we need to go to the Board of Appeals because of the non-conforming status of the property. Additionally, a variance is needed because of the fact that we will be coming closer to the front lot line and moving it from 12 feet to roughly 7.5 feet to accommodate a mudroom for the new house. I've been to the property, the building commissioner has been to the property. Some of the foundation is granite and will last forever. Some of it is not granite, and he believes it will be necessary to improve that portion of the foundation because of the additional story.
okay.
Right
So-
now, it's 1.5 stories, and it'll be going to 2.5 stories.
Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
Question,
So let me, let's just, that was going to be my question. I'll just clarify what we're doing here. We've got, you're seeking a special permit from the board under Section 4, non-conforming uses of building and land. I'll just going to read it so everyone understands what we're doing. Valid pre-existing non-conforming structures or uses may be extended, altered, reconstructed, or replaced, and such extension, alteration, reconstruction, or replacement may be used for the purpose or for a purpose substantially similar to the purpose for which the original buildings may have been lawfully used if authorized by a special permit. So that's what Mr. Sheffield said, but I think what's happening here is because the proposal is to take most of the building down,
yes, it is.
if not all of the building down, which is what we talked about before in this
Correct.
hearing. The building inspector has asked for this finding to be made because we were actually reconstructing a non-conforming structure.
Right.
But my question is, so that's why we're here, and you're seeking a variance because you're exacerbating the front yard setback.
That is
A
correct.
very similar way that we see with other cases come before this board. But you're not exacerbating the side yard, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to understand this case. You're not exacerbating the side yard setback, not you, Mr. Sheffield.
I
your
understand.
client, yeah. Or the rear yard setback.
That is correct.
Yeah, so the building is going to be built or reconstructed on the same footprint, except for the front yard setback.
Exactly.
And, so are you actually seeking a variance for the side and the rear?
According to the building inspector, he thought it would be safe to request it.
Even with the finding?
Even with the finding.
I don't know. That
Because
feels
you're
like
going up
belts, suspenders, and maybe a couple of other
Maybe because
things.
he's going up an extra story
We'll
or
be
half a
We'll
story?
be going up in height.
Can you talk about the height? Well, how high is this building?
This will be 2.5 stories, where it's currently 1.5 stories.
And what makes it 2.5?
There'll be additional, there's an attic, and then there's a second floor, and then there's a first floor.
So what's on the top floor? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Attic storage.
Now it's attic. What's it
No,
going?
no, there is no third floor now. It's
What's on the second floor
1.5.
now?
It's
Yeah, what-
going
what-
to be 2.5.
Okay, what's the half now is an attic as well,
Yes,
presently? Okay.
that is correct.
So what's going to be up there now, well, after it gets constructed?
It will be bedrooms on the second floor and an attic storage area on the additional floor,
Pulled down?
half floor. I believe it will be a pull down. Right now it has, what?
Pulled down on the third floor?
Yes.
Yeah, there'll be no stair access to the third floor. Right now, it's 1.5. There's 2 small bedrooms upstairs on the second
You're
floor.
going to heat that?
So we'll be adding another bedroom, having a 3-bedroom, full 3-bedroom.
No heat in the attic?
No heat in the attic, no. It will be an unfinished attic.
Mrs. King?
I have no questions.
Okay. Anything further?
Yeah, the rationale for the variance is the fact that this is a very, very unusually shaped lot. And due to the shape, it seems like when they did this development back in 1935, this was an extra parcel that they put in. And it goes, and because of the shape, we have all these dimensional issues. And it's necessary that the variance arise from the shape, size, or topography of the site.
And what is the size of the lot? Do you know how many square feet?
5162,
Sorry?
5162 square feet.
Let me ask, the board's going to reserve its opportunity to comment further, ask questions of the applicant. Let me continue the hearing by asking if there's anybody, are you finished, Mr.?
Yes, I
Bishop?
have, sir.
If there's anybody in attendance who would like to speak in favor of the application. Yes, welcome to the Board of Appeals. Just state your name, your address, and tell us a little bit of, you have to come up here, absolutely, yes, we require that. It's good, you'd be on television that way.
Hi, my name is Claude Kalici. I live in 26.
Say that again, please.
Claude Kalici,
Could you spell your last name?
Kellici.
Thank you.
And I live at 26 Denmark Ave. I'm pro of this plan because I would like my neighborhood to have like very nice houses and also brings the value of my home up, you know.
So where is your house in relation to this
It's
house?
in front of this street of Hope, of Pine Grove Street.
W-
We're down here.
Yeah, just to address the audience, let,
I know it lives in Denmark, yeah, but how is that adjacent to Pine Grove Street?
no, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. Go ahead, tell us,
It's off Squantum Street and Pine Grove, it's off Squantum Street also too.
No, it isn't. Oh, that is in Pine Grove at the top, I'm sorry.
so you live nearby the house?
Yes, very close.
How close?
2 minutes walking from my house,
Okay,
so I'm in favor of this.
okay,
I would like beautiful homes around my area.
thank you.
It brings the value up of my house also. And the house that it's already there, it's in very bad shape, you know?
Right,
So anything better, it's good for all of us.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to the Board of Appeals. Is there anybody else in the audience like to speak in favor of the application? Okay, seeing none, is there anybody who would like to speak against the application? Seeing, yes. Do you- Welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Elaine McCabe, I live at 45 Pine Grove Street, which is the next door of Butter. And I just feel as far as the structure of this house, it just doesn't fit in with the rest of the homes in the neighborhood. And I think going that close to the sidewalk kind of just overpowers the whole thing. I understand why they want to raise the, as we call it, raise the roof. And I understand that they're a young family and they want to expand and everything. I just feel that the way that they have it now, it's like a McMansion going in with bungalows. You know, I have a small cape. Most of the homes are small colonials. And there's a few other bungalows on the street. I just don't feel that it fits in with the rest of the structures.
Okay.
Although they did compromise as far as that bay window went.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So before you leave, if you don't mind, could you stay, would you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I see the bay window, but what do you mean about the compromise?
When the original plans call for the bay window on my side to project out 2 feet or 3 feet, I forget what it was now, and there's only 6 feet between my boundary, my property line, and the house the way it stands right now, which would cut down that much.
So which is your side?
The left
side.
the left side.
Facing the front of the house.
Oh, yeah, there's no window on your side.
There's no windows.
No,
Yeah, I mean, there was windows, but no,
no.
That's right. They took it out at her
Well,
request.
the window is there, but it's smaller and it's
Not a
it's
big
not
window.
projecting
It
out,
doesn't-
yeah.
it Doesn't project.
thank you.
Okay, may I ask a question?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry if I missed, I think you said this. So is your, do I hear your primary objection, or is it your sole objection, is the proximity in front to the street?
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
the way the town goes is that 2.5 stories, I have no control over that as far as being in a butter. I'm just wondering if the foundation can take 2.5 stories. I mean, it's an old house, it hasn't been taken care of, and I understand why they want to reconstruct. But I just feel that the way they want to reconstruct it is just too big for our neighborhood. They need more land to put it on, now that they've changed the window.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak against the application? Is there anyone in the audience who has a question about the application? Anyone else in the audience who wants to speak about this matter at all? Yes, sir. Welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you. My name is Richard McCabe, and I'm here with my mom. I looked at the diagrams, and I had some questions on the diagrams. They show the pre-existing home with a 3-foot difference between the front to the rear. And then when they show the new construction diagrams, they do not show the same height differentials from front to rear. Which would, if the foundation is going to be the same, how do those numbers change?
I don't know if I understand the question, or and maybe the applicant.
If I could show you. So here it says 23 feet high at the ridge at front and 26 feet at rear.
Yeah.
So it slopes
speak
down
up
to
so
the
that
rear.
people can-
It slopes down to the rear.
Yeah.
Now on the new, they've got it at 33 feet 11 inches at the rear and 31 feet 7 inches in the front. And to me, it should be exactly 3-foot difference. So then so then I look at that and I wonder if is the height truly under the 35 feet?
I don't know, the drawings do show it as under 35 feet. I don't know if the applicant wants to speak to how the roof line works.
Well, that portion of the home was an addition built after 1935. It is not on a solid foundation, so therefore they're going to have to replace the foundation, and the foundation will be somewhat higher, and that's why there's a difference in the height.
Well, I think part of Mr. McCabe's question is wouldn't if the grading of the lot is not being modified, wouldn't the differential between the front to the rear, which is 3 feet in the existing, be the same in the proposed? Is that the question?
That's the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you join us, Mr. Cello?
How you doing?
Will you tell us, is that your name, Mr.
Yes, Mr. Chala, Edmund Chala. The existing building right now, the addition, it's a little lower than the rest of the house. So if you walk through the dining room, you have to go a foot lower
Okay.
on the addition. So once we fix the foundation, that foot is going to disappear. It's going to be all the same. So
Do you
the
have a
whole house is
uniform
going to be level.
foundation, a uniform first floor?
We're
And a
gonna
uniform roof
so
line?
once you uniform it, that's going to bring that 3 feet a little higher on the back.
So it
So
won't,
that's
so the differential to the front to the back will be slightly less.
Slightly less. That's the difference. In the addition right now, if you walk through the house goes a foot lower to the back of the house. So it's a step
Okay,
between.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you look
No,
at the roof line,
You look at it now and then, yeah.
I just,
But
because
that's-
when you're talking about a special permit, that does kind of fall into the special permit thing.
Yes.
In regards to excavation
That's
and
right,
changing
that's-
the contour of.
That
the-
foundation is a little lower than the rest of the house.
And if right now, if the roof line is straight, I still don't see the 3-foot.
The roof line's still gonna be straight, but it's the
But if
grade
the
is-
roof line is straight now,
It's not straight right now, it's the addition on the back of the house, that's what we're talking about. The addition on the back of the house, it's only 1 story, and the house is 1.5. So it doesn't match anywhere with the rest of the house.
get it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, questions from the board?
Is this shows, I presume, the proposed exterior of the new house?
Yes.
This plan. Is that the same as the exterior finish now, or is it different?
Right now, it's all siding plus, most of the siding is not even there, it's just nothing there right now.
And this
pretty
is,
The material
is this like a
will be
stained
different, but
shingle,
the
or?
location is the same.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
much. The brick on the bottom is the same, the
Right,
foundation.
okay.
The rest of it is not the same.
Not the same material.
We're putting all brand new, everything brand new, so it's just gonna change the look of it completely.
That's what I meant. The
Yes.
look of it is going to
It's
be.
gonna completely, yeah, it's gonna change.
So
Right
what-
now,
This is the dark,
to tell you the truth, what the contractor has in there as a material, I'm not sure.
okay. For any of it? You're not sure what the material is for this or what's above it?
Above is, it's regular the plastic siding.
Okay,
The one in the bottom, to tell the truth, I don't know, I'm not sure.
okay. Thank you.
Well, if we vote on this, it's gonna be what this is showing, which
Yeah.
is
No question
cedar
about that.
shake siding, clapboard siding, and a copper roof.
Yes,
Okay. So, that's what it is.
that's what it is, and that's what's gonna be.
Does your contractor know that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any other questions from the board?
Contractor and architect been working together.
Okay.
I spoke to the contractor this morning, and he is in New Jersey. He was planning to make it last Thursday, but is unable to be here tonight.
So I have one question. On the side setback, you say that it's unchanged, but is it really unchanged?
Yes,
Even with the introduction of the window?
yes.
Yes.
Why is
That's-
that?
That's not on the side that needs the variance.
Oh, it's within the tolerance? I see. Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't have any further questions. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna close the evidentiary portion of the hearing, and we'll discuss the hearing, the matter in open session in accordance with the rules of the Board of Appeals, as Mr. Leonard would say, right here and now. Mrs. King.
I went to the site today to see what other houses were like as far as the front setback goes. And the others are fairly consistent in keeping what's currently there on the subject property. The difference being just over 2 feet. And I understand, I looked at it trying to figure out, would it be possible to make this smaller and not have it look funny? And I concluded that you probably could not do that. You know, as far as the other setbacks, those are, you know, as we say, they're following the current footprint, and I have no problem with that. So I tried to envision what it would look like, you know, coming up one side and coming down the other and looking across the street. And I did not see that it was something that was going to be visually out of character. Yes, it is a different kind of a house, but, you know, there are no two-story bungalows, quite frankly. So, you know, I think this is a tasteful design. It's using a difficult lot size in a good way, and I'm inclined to vote in favor of the application.
Ted?
Good presentation. Thank you. Yeah, I had some concerns about the front setback. It's and the you know, the size of the encroachment on the front setback. But it sounds like there was some, you know, productive dialogue with the neighbors and a good effort to try to satisfy the neighbors' concerns about it. And, excuse me, the design is, it's different, but it looks tasteful, and it looks like it will be a very nicely reconstructed house. And again, on the side, it is going up another, I guess, story from 1.5 to 2.5, but apart from that, the house will be no closer and will be within the footprint, except to the front. So I think under the circumstances and given the size of the lot that we're working with here and the nonconformity, that I'd be inclined to vote in favor of it as well.
Thank you.
So I agree with my colleagues. Owing to the accommodation that you've made to the neighbors on the plans that we saw the first time, which was significantly different than what we're seeing today, and the fact that the encroachment is a porch, and not part of the living space, and the premium quality of this design. We don't see a lot of copper roofs in this town these days. Plus, given the condition of the property that it's currently in, I think it's a good improvement to the neighborhood. I do, this board has for many years had a lot of respect for what the neighbors say, and we don't take an objection on a variance application lightly, and nobody should interpret that. But owing to the circumstances that we've got, I'm going to support this variance and the variances that have been requested and the finding that's been requested by the applicant, that the special permit should issue so that the building can be reconstructed, mostly given the condition that it's currently in. And I'll support the application. I think that it's important to make it clear that this is what's going to be built, and it will be substantially similar to what you've proposed. And I'll vote to support. All in favor of the variance and the special permit? Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your variance and
I
special
thank you.
permit. Mr. Sheffield, if you could work with Mrs. Fitzgerald on the details of, the timing and.
I will indeed.
know
I've
that,
already signed an extension for the...
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you.
You're welcome. You want this? You're the best.
I wasn't sure what.
Rough justice.
Yeah, that's fine.
Rough justice. Okay. Board is going to call to order the 7:45 hearing, just to keep the people's business moving tonight. Upon the application of Joseph and Janine Reardon, dated June 8, 2016, on file with the board for a variance from the terms of Section 6B3 of the Milton zoning bylaw, the applicant would like to remove an existing front entry mudroom and stairs and to build a 6-foot by 22.5-foot covered porch with stairs at the single-family home located at 49 Grafton Avenue. The property is located in a Residence C zoning district and is considered pre-existing non-conforming. The new front entry mudroom will be 17.5 feet from the front property line rather than the 20 feet required under Section 6B3, all is set forth in the application. I have the file, whoop, I don't want that. I don't want any of that. Okay. I have the file in front of me. I see Mr. and Mrs. Reardon have joined us. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be the acting chairman. To my immediate right is Ted Daber, and to my immediate left is Virginia Donahue King, who will be sitting on the hearing tonight. In the file that we've got a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Reardon explaining, I'm going to read it so that people can hear what we're doing. We're seeking a variance to add a covered porch to provide safe and aesthetically pleasing access to our home. Currently, our home, which was built at an elevation approximately 5 feet above street level, may only be accessed from the front via 2 sets of stairs and a small mudroom with an inward swinging door. Because of this, several people have fallen on the stairs as they attempted to access the mudroom. While the plans for the new porch only seek an extension of 2 feet toward the property line, it will reduce the number of stairs needed by at least 50%, and it will add a larger area to access the doorway. In addition, the stairs will be oriented toward the driveway to provide easier and safer access to the door, but do so in a way that is far more aesthetically pleasing than the current structure. That's the application. I've got a letter from the building inspector repeating much of that. I got photos of the home. Got a letter from James Lynch and Catherine Lynch, direct abutters, explaining the need for the variance, and they're respectfully asking the board to accept this letter as a supportive document in our deliberations. That's James and Catherine Lynch from 41 Grafton Avenue. I have a similar letter from Susan Batson and Paul Casaz of 50 Grafton Avenue, respectfully asking us to accept this letter as a supportive document in our deliberation. And yet another similar letter from James Hickey and Linda Hickey, 62 Grafton Avenue, Wade Moore, 63 Grafton Avenue, all explaining their support for the application. And lastly, We have a plot plan showing the proposed farmer's porch prepared by Neponset Valley Survey Associates and indicating the extent of the encroachment. Mr. and Mrs. Reardon, welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and through to your members. I think the application speaks for itself. We have, as you can see in the photo, a very difficult access to our home. Built in 1922, it's had several reiterations over the years, but has become increasingly more difficult to maintain and to get in and out of the home. We have had a couple of people, family members, who have had difficulty in accessing the door as it swings in because there's no platform to open the door. So in looking at our options, we would have to come before this board to ask for a variance to even extend it out a little bit so the door could open properly and have a landing spot. In looking at our options and looking at the other options in our neighborhood, a majority, I would say, of our neighbors do have covered porches, and it would provide an additional opportunity for us to access the door safely, as well as to create a more aesthetically pleasing front view of our home.
So tell us, so what's happening? You're going to be moving the stairs to the side, or what?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
So
Chair.
just give us an idea of what, as a practical matter, how this will look when it's finished.
So if you were looking at that photo head-on, you're looking at the front entryway. The front entryway has windows to the left, and the covered porch would go across those windows and to the side. On the right-hand side, and you can see the garage at the top of the driveway, the bottom of the driveway has a slight incline, but it is an incline that is easily more navigable than the stairs are. And that would lead to a staircase that would go to accessing the house from the side rather than straight on, reducing the number of stairs, providing wider access, and frankly, safer access to the home.
And the new stairs to the right of the house are within the
Yes.
zoning limit?
Yes,
But the porch is not.
correct. It would be an increase of 2 feet over what's
So you'll
currently
be looking
there.
at a farmer's porch with stairs on the side,
Correct.
as opposed to a front entry, stairs in the front.
Correct.
And all of this will come down, and this will be yard,
Exactly.
so there'll be more lawn for you,
Landscaped, exactly.
for the landscaper to
More
cut?
along the cut on the side of the hill. It's not an easy feat.
Indeed, indeed.
It would also reduce shoveling, just saying.
Okay, all right, that's good. Questions, members? Oh, I'm sorry,
That's
Mr.
okay.
Ray, if you finished with your?
Oh, no, all set. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Seems pretty straightforward. I don't have any questions at this time.
Nor do I.
Can I ask if anybody in the audience wishes to speak in support of the application? Seeing none, hearing none. Can I ask if anybody wishes to speak against the application? Seeing and hearing none. I don't have any questions either. And I don't, any of my board members have any questions? No, okay. So we're going to end the deliberation phase, and we're going to end the evidence phase, and we'll go right to deliberations and vote on this application right here and now, as Mr. Leonard would say. Mr. Daver.
Very well presented, very straightforward, and makes a lot of sense. The encroachment that requires the variance is de minimis, and no one has appeared in opposition, and it appears that it'll be a real improvement to the house, and I support it.
Jenny?
And I have to agree with that. I'm for just about anything that'll make going in and out of a house or any other place safe, because I have a mother that falls a lot, so I certainly, I can be in sympathy on that. It looks like it's going to be a good improvement for everybody, so with no neighborhood issues with it, I see no reason not to go for it.
I think it's terrific. The house is going to look fantastic when you finish. It really is.
Thank you
It's
for your
great.
enthusiasm.
Thank you.
It's really great. It's a great idea. It's going to look completely different,
Yes.
I know.
It is.
And it's great and safe and all that, and you did great getting your neighbors to support it. It's fantastic. We should have more applications like this. I'm enthusiastically supporting it. All in favor of the variance?
I-
Well, congratulations.
To,
Thank you.
So we'll write this up. It'll be it'll be a few weeks. You'll have a year to finish the work and work with Mrs. Fitzgerald to give you a written variance. You record it at the registry so they can run against your property, and best of luck.
Right, thank
Thank
you, I
you.
appreciate your time, and Mary's been great to deal with, so
Okay.
thank you very
Thank
much.
Okay, great. Okay, Ginny, thank you. I think that, just check, make sure that's all the stuff. Okay. That's a great idea, what they've done.
Oh,
That looks
yeah.
terrific. You see the rendering? Wow. Looks like a different home when they're finished with that. Okay. Is the applicant here for the 8 o'clock? Okay. So I'm going to call to order the 8 o'clock hearing of the Board of Appeals upon the application of Joseph and Barbara Scholes dated June 27, 2016, on file with the board for a variance from the terms of Section 6A of the Milton zoning bylaw. The applicants seek a variance to subdivide the property known as 1147 Canton Avenue into two separate lots for the construction of one new single-family home, leaving the existing single-family home on a new and independent lot. The property is located in a Residence A zoning district. Section 6A of the bylaw requires new lots for construction of a detached single-family home to contain at least 40,000 square feet of land. The existing lot contains 61,755 square feet and currently conforms. The proposed new Lot 1 will keep the existing home on it, will contain 40,000 square feet, and the new Lot 2 will be for a proposed new home, will contain 21,755 square feet, all as set forth in the application plans on file with the board and open to public inspection. My name is Jeffrey Mullen. I'll be acting as chairman. To my right is Ted Daber, and to my left is Virginia Donahue King, members of the Board of Appeals. As is our custom, I'm going to take some time to tell the people in the audience and on national TV tuning in at home what is in the file, so that people will know the purpose of the hearing and what people have said. There has been some communication on that. I have the application and a letter to Attorney Sheffield, attorney for the applicants, from Mr. Prondak, reiterating much of what I just wrote and what I just read and the purpose of the hearing. I've got a site plan that is prepared by Neponset Valley Survey Associates entitled Subdivision Plan of Land, showing the proposed subdivision of the main lot at 1147 Canton Avenue into two lots for review. I've got a list of the abutters, and I also have several letters, a few letters that may not be too long, so I may read those. I think I will read them into the record. The first is a letter, a memo, email, I'm sorry, from Brian Wall of Troy Wall Associates, Route 6A in Sandwich. Dear Mrs. Fitzgerald, be advised that I represent Jeffrey Gray and Claire Carroll, the Grays, owners of 20 Apple Lane in Milton. The Grays are opposed to the petition for variance filed by Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Scholes, which seeks to create a new undersized lot at 1147 Canton Street. On behalf of the Grays, I am hereby submitting the attached letter setting forth the reasons that the Grays are opposed to the petition. A hard copy is being submitted by U.S. mail. We've also mailed a copy to the Scholes attorney, Mr. Sheffield. I have Mr. Wall's letter, which is 4 pages. I won't read the entirety of it. So I have 2 copies. I have a copy, I have the original, and I have the email talking about the letter, which I just wrote.
Could I have a copy?
Mr. Sheffield wants a copy of the letter. There's a copy. Did you not receive a copy of that letter?
I received one today.
Oh, okay.
In today's
okay.
mail.
Okay, so the letter may be slightly long for me to read. I will, if people in the audience want to take a look at it, that's fine. Maybe I'll just summarize what it says, unless the members think it's important for me to read into the record, which I'm happy to do.
A summary, I think, will work.
Summary is fine.
Be advised, I represent the Grays. This is the letter from Troy Wall. It's dated August 3rd. Today is August 8th. The Grays are husband and wife. Their property at 20 Apple Lane is their family home. They are raising their twin sons and caring for Claire's, Mrs. Mrs. Gray's elderly mother. According to the GIS, the Shoals property consists of separate parcels which have a total area of 61,000 square feet. One of the parcels is improved. Since the parcels are all in common ownership, the non-conforming parcels have merged into a single lot for zoning purposes. The Shoals are proposing to subdivide their lot into two new lots, Lot 1 of 40,000 and Lot 2 of 21,755. As we understand the Shoals' intention, they plan to sell their existing residence on Lot 1 and build a one-story single-family dwelling for themselves on Lot 2. Both the Shoals and the Grays properties are in Residence A. The Shoals petition should be, is opposed for the following reasons. Variances may only be granted and only upon a showing of the criteria set forth in the Massachusetts Zoning Act, Chapter 48, Section 10, with which this board has familiarities. Mr. Wall reiterates the language in the statute. A variance represents a waiver of rules adopted by town meeting. Accordingly, it is only in rare instances and under exceptional circumstances that relaxation of the general restrictions established by statute ought to be permitted. Number two, the Shoals have not demonstrated the criteria for a variance: shape, hardship, substantial detriment, or derogation. Each of those, Mr. Wall reiterates the rationale for that, citing Gerard versus Board of Appeals of Easton. He cites the Bobrowski case, Johnson versus Town of Edgartown. Moreover, the Grays would be particularly and adversely affected by the grant of the variance as the contemplated location of the proposed new house on the proposed new lot would be only 15 feet from their southwesterly border. If this were to be allowed, the new house on the new, substantially undersized lot would appear incongruous with the other houses and properties in the neighborhood. The Grays respectfully request the Board of Appeals deny the Shoals petition for a variance because it fails to demonstrate the criteria that are a necessary prerequisite to the board's grant of a variance. Thank you. Apologize for the time that took, but I think that's an important letter so people can understand. I also have a letter from James Mullen. James Mullen at 1475 Canton Avenue, in which Mr. Mullen, no relation, it is my opinion that the approval of a 20,755 square foot lot in Zone A, which requires a minimum 40,000, would not be in the best interest of the town of Milton. Such an approval could encourage others to request the same and use this approved application as an example. I urge the board to deny the application of Joseph and Barbara Shoals. Mr. Mullen also discloses to the board that they received, he himself received a variance to subdivide his lot in 1981 at 1475 Canton Avenue into two lots of 37,000 and 41,000 square feet respectively. We have a letter from Regis and Anna Gartaganis, which is dated August 7. Neighbors of Joseph and Barbara Shoals live in we live two homes over from the current property at 1147. We live at 34 Apple Lane and moved to the small cul-de-sac 3 years ago. We currently live there with our two sons. Mr. and Mrs. Gartaganis explained that if the variance were to be granted, they would be adversely affected by creating a more crowded space at the top of their street with less green space. Their home is at the bottom of the hill. And they are concerned that this new property's footprint could affect drainage, runoff, and are unsure of other possible environmental effects. Given how this proposal would affect our enjoyment of our home and the surrounding neighborhoods, we request the Board of Appeals to deny the application. I have an email from Marilyn Colatrella dated August 8th. I'll read this. Because of a family commitment, we may not be able to attend the hearing tonight for the above property at 1147 Canton Avenue and want to voice our approval for this variance in order for Barbara and Joe Shoals to be able to build a home facing Apple Lane for their own use. The Shoals have lived at their present large brick colonial at the corner of Canton Avenue and Apple Lane for 40 years. They truly love living in this location and want to downsize by constructing a new home facing Apple Lane. We are fortunate to have had them as neighbors for all these years and have enjoyed having them as friends. Therefore, we want to approve their request for a variance and hope the town will agree. The present home is tastefully designed, and we feel that any house they build will be an asset to the neighborhood. Thank you for reading our request. And lastly, I have an email from Regis Gartaganis forwarding the letter to which I earlier referred and read the spirit of the letter into the record. All of that is available for people to look at and consider as we deliberate this matter. I see Mr. Sheffield is here representing Mr. and Mrs. Scholes. Welcome to the Board of Appeals. Mr. Sheffield, how can we help you this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a very unusual situation here, and I'll be glad to describe it, but Mr. and Mrs. Scholes have lived at 11, and they are here in the audience. They have lived at 1147 Canton Avenue for 40 years, or at least 3 months shy of it. And they love the neighborhood. They have seen Apple Lane developed. They are in sync with the neighborhood, and they would love to stay here. Their home was built in 1925. It is a colonial mansion-style house. It has 4 different levels. Now that they have surpassed the age of 75, each of them, they find it very difficult to maintain and take care of the house, to use the house, which is just much too large for them in their current situation. It is assessed for $1.367 million. It generates taxes, annual taxes of $18,460, which creates unusual and very, very burdensome situation on them. There is a financial hardship. There is also a mobility hardship insofar as it is hard for them to handle the 4 stories of the house. And for this reason, there is definitely hardship, quote, financial or otherwise, as is defined in the law regarding variances. Also, we have an unusual situation in which the topography of the facility is most unusual insofar as, and I have redlined the,
These all the same?
yes, the portion of the property that we can see that the 1-foot contours indicate that the bottom of the property, which is in the lower left, lower right on Apple Lane, has an altitude of 57 feet. It goes up very rapidly to 80 feet at the side of the house, and it's essentially 90 feet from the other side of the house. But the falling topography make this most unusual and uncharacteristic in the zoning district, which heretofore, or traditionally in Milton, had been broad agricultural land. The Scholes are seeking to build a small house less than 2,000 square feet in a portion of their property, and would subdivide it so that the existing house would maintain 40,000 square feet, and the new lot would contain 21,755 square feet. The Grays appear to be concerned that their privacy will be reduced, that it will be a severe derogation from the purpose and intent of the bylaw. I suggest otherwise. I would pass around a picture of Ethel Lane, and on the right side is the Gray's house. And you see going up the street, the dense foliage and current natural habitat that could and would be continued. So it would be unlikely that they will be harmed by the presence and proximity to the house. Here's another picture showing the terrain, and you'll note that from the house it goes down drastically. In fact, it's from the house it goes down 23 feet. And there's kind of a plateau off of the side of Apple Lane, and it would be on that much lower plateau that would the house would be built. I believe that the house could be built in such a way that the harm to any neighbors would be either minimal or not at all. That the contours of the property suggest this is a real possibility. That the age of the current homeowners, the fact that they would like to stay in the neighborhood, and this would empower them to remain in place for the rest of their life. It would be positive not only to them but to the town as a whole. I would ask you to look at this application specifically with the view of the requirements of the law, and I would say that owing to circumstances relating to the topography of such land, and especially affecting this property in comparison to others in the A district, the literal enforcement of this provision in the ordinance or bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the applicant, and desired relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the purpose and intent of the bylaw. I think this is a perfect example of where a variance would be appropriate. You may ask, how much is 21,755 square feet? I would say two things. Number one is this is almost the exact area of the East Milton major post office with its loading docks and with the parking area provided for the trucks. It's a relatively substantial piece of property. The other thing I would say is that in review of the town assessor's records, 80% of the properties in Milton has 21,755 square feet or lower. So it is out of context of Residence A. However, I think it is a special situation that the board should seriously consider. The applicant and I think it meets all the standards for the granting of a variance.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
So before we take questions, how many of those 80% are in Residence A?
I would say most are not. I'd say relatively few are. Would be in Residence B or Residence C.
What would you say to the requirement of the statute that talks about not nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent of the bylaw?
I think with the picture of the street, that the house could be constructed in such a way that it would have minimal visible impact upon the neighbors, and particularly the next-door neighbor, and that it could be properly shielded so that they would maintain their privacy, and this would be quite possible.
Is that the proposal here? Are you proposing that this building does that?
Yes.
Okay. Any preliminary questions from the board before we take questions from the audience?
I don't have any. no.
So anybody in the audience like to speak in support of the application? Seeing none, anybody in the audience would like to speak in opposition to the application? Yes, ma'am. Join us and welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you.
You're
My
welcome.
name is Claire Carroll. This is my husband, Jeff Gray. We are the direct abutters to the Shoals, and while we are certainly, we're not insensitive to their situation, well, my mother is the only one of our parents who is still living, so we're certainly familiar with the need, to modify living arrangements as one gets older. However, the letter that was submitted by our attorney, who could not be here tonight, sort of lays out the legal requirements for a variance, and very respectfully, the Shoals application does not meet them. I know Mr. Sheffield just made reference to his 80% of the town having a 20,000 square foot lot. I would say that 0% of those properties are in Residence A, which is where we live. We lived in a different part of town on a very, very small lot. We're familiar with living on a small lot, so that's not what we're talking about here. This area is 1 acre zoning, and that's why we bought the property that we bought, to have the land around us and to be in a neighborhood with similar appearing homes, with similar appearing lots and free space. I've looked at the plan that's been submitted, the way that the proposed house is situated is such that it's only 15 feet from our property line, unless there have been any changes to the plan that I
That's
saw.
accurate.
And it is certainly a steep slope that goes up, and this new house would be at the bottom of the slope, right up against our property line. And all the trees that line the side of Apple Lane on that corner would have to come down for this house to be built. So for those reasons, we're opposed to the application. I don't know if my husband has anything to add.
One thing I would add would be that when we were initially looking at this property, we saw the lovely woods just up the hill from where our home is. And based on the zoning, we knew that where we were hoping to purchase, we perhaps wrongly assumed that no one would be building anything there. Perhaps that was an erroneous assumption, but nevertheless, that was, we looked for a wooded, quiet area and hope to enjoy that going forward into the future.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to be heard before the Board of Appeals this evening?
I would
Wait. We've talked a long time. There's some other people in the audience might want to be heard. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Regis Garganas. I sent a letter as well. I don't know how much more I
Welcome
have
to the Board of
add.
Appeals. Just explain, tell us
thank
your, you said your name, but where do you live?
I live one home over.
So what does that mean? So just orient us.
So the
If you're at
way-
the end of the street, at the end of the dead end, where's your house?
So if you're coming down the street, the shoals are at the top of the hill. I'm basically the second home down on the left, so I'm kind of at the bottom of the hill where the cul-de-sac kind of ends.
So you're to the immediate right of the Grays.
Yeah, if
Facing.
you're looking at their house, yes, I'm the next house down.
Thank you.
And,
Is
just
there
the-
another house to your right?
No, there's one at the end of the circle, basically, but I'm over here, the Grays are here, and the Shoals are
And
here.
that's it, just the three homes?
Right, and then it starts to curl back up the
Yeah,
street.
yeah, okay, thank you.
And again, I'm very aware of a very similar situation with, my mother-in-law actually does not live with us, but lives in the next town. We understand, as people get a little older, that there are hardships with steep slopes and sizes of homes and such matters, but that's kind of one of our concerns was the slope of the way the street comes down. We get a lot of pooling already from rains that come down, and I know the Grays have a little bit of that, have probably more than that than we do, but as it comes down, we know that some of the greenery and the trees that we have at the top of the hill that kind of makes the street as picturesque as it is coming in, if they do get taken down, we don't know, I'm not a specialist or engineer to know kind of what the effect will be, but we just had concerns that there could be adverse effects to kind of how that drains in, because we have sort of an easement between our two properties where there is some pooling, so it's just one of the concerns that we had, in addition to obviously the size of the lot just not being what we feel is in the spirit of the other homes around us, or as we had purchased. Every home is very, very well laid out, sort of in the middle of their property on a larger plot plan. Not a ranch-style home where it's just a little more substantial sized home where it could affect the other homes in the area. So, I didn't have that too much more detail to add other than what I expressed in the letter, but I just wanted to come in and kind of, voice my concerns.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Any questions I'm sorry, Mr. Sheffield, you wanted to be heard on the
Yes.
prior, on the Grays testimony?
Yeah, we're talking about the proposed structure being located 30 feet in from the street. That would permit a type of screening that is similar to what we have at the present time. And also, we wrote to the Grays, and we offered them to suggest that we would put in at our expense whatever type of screening they would favor, so as to minimize any impact that this may have on them. I never received a call in return, so I presume that they were not interested in following up this offer. I would finally like to point out that the frontage on Apple Lane is 245 feet, so it goes a very, very long way. The body of the house is 42 feet, and then we have 34 additional for a patio between the garage and the house and the garage itself. So it appears that this would be a small house on a lot that is large but not deep. And with 245 feet of frontage, it could look right in place, right at home, and it would meet the variance test insofar as hardship is concerned, insofar as, except for the area itself, it meets all the other dimensional requirements in the zoning bylaw, and would permit the Shoals who have lived there for 40 years to continue to live in the neighborhood they've grown to love. They are Milton through and through. Mrs. Scholes graduated from Milton High School. They feel they need this for their retirement. They're both still working now, even though they're over 75. And this would be a godsend to them.
Thank you, Mr. Sheffield. Anybody else? So, any questions from the board? I'm sorry. Welcome to the,
1147 Canton Avenue in Milton, and I want to thank everyone for being here. This is my husband, Joseph. There are just a couple of things that we wanted to say about this whole project. The idea of building a smaller house is what we were hoping to do. It would not be a ranch house. It would probably be a cape, a 1.5 story, not a full 2-story, so it wouldn't impact in terms of height. The land that our neighbors are talking about is presently ours, and we have cultivated the trees and landscaped and taken care of the grounds for almost 40 years. So we respect and love the way the area looks as well as our neighbors do. And so we would be very careful to only remove the trees we would have to remove, and hopefully that wouldn't be too many. I believe that the 15 feet from the line is a legal setback. That is not unusual in terms of how close it would be to the existing home. We're really not sure exactly what we would build there. It might be a house that's even smaller than the one we use this as an example, but it may not be even as large as this. In order to work with the surveyor and have the surveyor draw up a building envelope, we gave him a possible plan to use as an example, but the house we would build might be a lot smaller than
Right.
that.
It couldn't be any larger.
No,
No.
and we wouldn't want it to be any
No, it couldn't
larger.
be.
Yeah. So just as a matter of
thank you.
explanation.
Well, the only thing I want to add to that is, as far as the concern about the trees are probably in the order of 100 years old. They're probably 80 feet tall, and I lose 2 or 3 a year. So the concern that we're going to have less trees there is going to be a natural thing that occurs in the next few years anyway. I'm having to remove 2 or 3 a year that come down. That's going to happen anyway.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Questions from the board? Yeah, we're going to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing, and we're going to deliberate on this matter right here and now. I am, as we all learned from the master, the real chairman of the board, John Leonard, who sometimes takes his prerogative as chairman to speak first. I'm going to do that right now. And I know John's watching at home, so I hope I can do him justice. I want to first thank everybody who participated in this hearing. There's a lot of work that went into this. I think that the application was professionally presented, very well done. Mr. Sheffield was his normal terrific advocate. And I don't for a minute doubt the sincerity of the Scholes and the reason that they want to do this. But I really, I find this request to be extraordinary and perhaps not unprecedented for this board, but a very serious matter. We're talking about integrity of the zoning code and being asked to create a buildable lot that's almost, or about 55% of what is required in the zone. And I believe strongly as a member of this board that people buy houses in the Residence A district with an expectation of 40,000 square feet means 40,000 square feet. And I can think of very few, if any, hearings that I've sat on in the nearly 20 years I've been on this board where we've subdivided a lot like this in a Residence A without a real good reason. And I suspect that there are facts that we will do that. These are not those facts in my judgment. For all of the reasons that Mr. Wall articulated in his letter, and Ms. Claire Carroll, and Mr. Gray articulated in front of us, I can't support this application. And at the same time think that we are, to quote Mr. Wall, respecting the integrity of the zoning code, despite the rationale behind building the house, which I have no objection to, but that's not what this is about. This is about the size of the lots in this zone, that people buy their homes and invest with an expectation that while variances and modifications to the zoning do happen, they don't happen on such an enormous scale as are being requested today, or tonight. So I am going to object to this variance for all of those reasons. Mr. David.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with everything that you have said. I'm very sympathetic with the circumstances as outlined, the wish to stay in the neighborhood and the desire to be able to build a house on that lot, but I cannot see how legally we can grant this variance. It's, as Chairman Mullen said, Acting Chairman Mullen said, it really is it would be an extraordinary variance from the terms and from the requirement of 40,000 square feet. And if there's any hardship, the hardship comes from the size of the lot and the inability to get another 40,000 square foot lot out of it, and not from topography or any of the other factors mentioned in the statute. And I think the Attorney Wells' memorandum was very well written and is right on point, so I would have to oppose the variance as well.
And I agree with my colleagues. It's too vast of a change from what the intent of the zoning bylaw is, and it effectively would negate the bylaw. And the bylaw has stood by us since 1938 very well. And we would be changing history if we did that, and I think not for the good. With all due respect for the Shoals and wanting to stay in the neighborhood, I certainly understand that, but this is not an application that would even make it through an appeal process, and there would be an appeal, I would see, and that would just be costly for everybody. So even if we were to grant it, I don't think it's going to survive through the courts at any rate, because the reasons for having this variance just don't fit with the bylaw. So I would have to join my colleagues in not voting for this.
Mr. Sheffield.
Could I request that this matter be withdrawn without prejudice, and perhaps we could speak to the neighbors, and maybe we could further allay their concerns, and if not, this is the end of it. If so, then maybe we could go back.
So I've spoken about this before, and I know you've heard it. I want to give my colleagues an opportunity to speak, but I don't actually like that, because I think the abutters can come in good faith, and I don't, we're an appointed body. It feels to me like that would be putting pressure on the abutters to come up with a deal. This is an extraordinary request of the change in the Milton zoning code. I don't see any board ever that I'm going to be sitting on doing something like this, Bob. So I would be, I want to hear from my colleagues, but I don't know that that's a fair request in light of the good faith that's been shown by the neighbors, since I think it could result in some pressure being put on the neighbors to, with some modest modifications, this could be approved. I don't think that's going to. That certainly won't happen if I am fortunate enough to be the acting chairman again. or even on this board, and that's because it's not about Apple Lane. It's about Residence A. And at some level, it becomes all about what people expect from their zoning bylaw and frankly, from their appointed officials. So, Ted.
No, I don't disagree with you. I agree with you. I also note that, you know, at least one of the abutters has spent money on an attorney to deal with this particular hearing and this particular proposal, and I really don't think it's fair to them to allow it to be this way.
The only thing that would persuade me is if another 15,000 square feet of land came up, or, you know, something approaching.
You have any of that
40.
with you?
I don't have it in my back pocket. In fact, I don't even have it in
Ask
my
Mr.
residence C zone. So I don't see that there would be anything that could come before us that would change our thinking on it. It's not just that there are neighbors here against it. It's, we really don't have the power really to do this. It would in fact nullify the bylaw, and we're not allowed to do that.
Well, I would just say that, number one, there was one neighbor, and I believe fully that the neighbors came in good faith, and I have no question about that, and they expressed their concerns. One neighbor was concerned about possible water problems or water damage or something like that, and maybe if we engaged an engineer or something, that might be, the reason for it might go away. Second thing is that both of the Grays are attorneys. They know that they can appeal it, they can have it overruled, and unless we came back with all the neighbors in concurrence, we wouldn't go back.
Well, we'll put it to a vote, if you like. Anyone in favor of granting the withdrawal without prejudice? I'm going to vote against that.
As am I.
I'm against it.
So on the variance, we'll put that to a vote. On the variance, I'm going to vote against.
Against.
So the variance has been denied. You're free to apply for another variance after the statutory period expires, but the board will write this up and, you know, can work with Mrs. Fitzgerald on.
I thank you for listening to us and for
coordinating.
your being here tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.